Do not look for your new or next RV without listening to today's expert guest. I'm Patti Hunt, and you're listening to the RV Life Podcast. Rob, what sets Alliance apart from other manufacturers?
Well, I would say three things: our culture, the build quality, and our customer service.
Today, we're going to cover what makes an RV a piece of junk or a jewel. Rob's going to help us talk about that, what we're going to look for. We're going to talk about tips on helping you choose, obviously, high quality RVs and what are the things you need to look for in a dealership. And we're going to talk about tips on service and where to find good service technicians. My story: 4 years ago, my husband decided that it would be a good idea to go full-time RVing, sell absolutely everything. And I was surprised by this because I had been in an RV for about 7 days leading up to that. Well, when I decided, what the heck, let's go get an RV and do it, budget was an issue. Money was an issue. And I have to say right off the bat, we did not know much. And I'm going to say now, I know there were a lot of things I didn't know. We ended up buying a Class A Monaco Diplomat that was almost 20 years old. And one of the reasons I decided on the Monaco Diplomat was, first of all, it had a lot of storage, but more important than that, there was a space for my espresso machine. A lot of the RVs we looked at, there was not enough space, not a great place to put that espresso machine so I could have my cappuccino every morning. I do not recommend this being the way to choose an RV. Would you agree with that, Rob?
I would. That little nugget is probably not what you look for.
Okay, good. So this is why I created the RV Life Podcast, to educate, entertain, and explore the RV lifestyle. And it is my mission to inspire you to live life to the fullest. For those of you looking for incredible places to camp this spring, summer, fall, or even in the winter, there are 6 incredible parks through Open Road Resorts, and they are in Idaho, Nebraska, New Mexico, 2 are in Texas, and their brand new park is AB Camping and RV Park in Cheyenne, Wyoming. This is an existing park. They just took it over. They are doing major upgrades and plans for expansion, but they are currently open and you can book your stay there now. All 6 of these parks are highly favored parks, and they are highly favored by you, the RVers, on the RV Life Campground Review site. You could check out all of what your fellow RVers have said about these parks by going to campgrounds.rvlife.com and also going to openroadresorts.com. Please let them know you heard about them on the RV Life Podcast. Now, let's get to Rob Boyer. He is a 32-year Air Force veteran turned master certified RV technician and a trusted leader in the RV community. Rob was Alliance RV's first owner employee and now leads their owner empowerment and education initiatives, helping RVers better understand and maintain their rigs. He also served as an executive producer and head of strategic partnerships for the RV Unplugged, the reality competition series that showcased off-grid RVing through high-energy, real-world challenges. Before all that, Rob spent 5 years traveling full-time with his wife, Yvonne, ran a successful mobile RV service business, and built a reputation for combining deep technical expertise with a passion for helping others in the RV lifestyle. Welcome, Rob, to the RV Life Podcast.
Thank you, Patti. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
You are welcome, and it is great to have you. First of all, 32 years as an Air Force veteran. I have to thank you very much for your service.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Now, your RVing story, 32 years in the military. Where did you start the whole RVing? Where did that all start?
Yeah, so my wife and I both retired in 2019, and we were going to kind of decide what we want to do. Wound up deciding to embark on the RV lifestyle. Went down to the Tampa RV show. Actually bought my first RV from what is now Blue Compass, RV1, and from unknown RV manufacturer at that time, Alliance. I bought the first show, like the 100th one they made, and kind of went on my journey. Went to RV technician school because I just didn't know what to do with myself at that point. You know, I was a aircraft mechanic and flight engineer and stuff in the Air Force, so I like knowing how these systems work. And after that, I approached Alliance and said, "Hey, I'd like to work with you guys. Got some ideas on this thing called owner empowerment and just teaching owners how to use their product." And they said yes, and I've been with them ever since. And we've been full time RVing for a little over 5 years now, and just kind of starting to transition off the road for a little while. But we really love the lifestyle. So
That's awesome. So you went down to Tampa looking for an RV. How did the conversation between the two of you start? Like, who was the
yeah.
person that, because this wasn't something either of you had done before, right?
No, we'd spent some time with our my wife's parents were RVers. They had a fifth wheel. They go
Okay.
almost through the summer, and so she kind of grew up that way. Me less that. She was actually supposed to go in the FBI as a special agent, and we were sitting at a winery after a trip, and said, why don't we just do this? And so we decided to go look for an RV, and I did like the months of research. And I was pretty confident. We tried to decide, is it Class A, is it towable, the whole value proposition. And once we got down there, we're basically walking out, and she walked into the Alliance display, and I met Coley and Ryan Brady and the team there, and kind of fell in love with the coach and more so the company. And from that point, we've been allies since then. So.
And we are going to tell the story about the Alliance story because it is a pretty incredible story. You've told it to me. I've done some research myself. So we are going to talk about that story. So what kind of RV did you end up with, and do you still have it?
Yeah, so I wound up with at that time fifth wheel. So 40-foot fifth wheel, 370 FB is one of the first models they made. Basically, rear living, your basic, your standard layout, rear living, front bedroom, but it had this massive, master bedroom and walk-in closet. And we're like, this stuff. But the thing was, it felt like I was being outside, inside, because the windows were so many windows. And so we had that coach for about 2.5 years, and then of course, just like most RVers, I go to show them like, hey, I like that floor plan. And my wife being a chef, she wanted to have have a kitchen. So we got our new rear kitchen, the 382 RK, and that's the one we currently have, it's kind of like our old coach and the rear kitchen model had a baby. It's kind of like a little bit of both. It's the rear kitchen and the front half of the one we used to have. So it's kind of best of both worlds for us.
And we're going to talk about that too. For my listeners, you bring up a good point. And anybody who's listened to the podcast knows I will go down rabbit holes wherever the conversation takes us that I think would be valuable. So we're going to talk about that because people ask all the time about choosing the right RV for them. Now, my listeners some of them are full-time RVers, weekend warriors, everything in between. And there are also a lot of RVers that are thinking about getting on the road. So I just want to quickly talk about different types of RVs. We could probably spend an entire episode on this, but if we just, kind of cover it quickly, anybody that says, oh, that sounds like something more interesting, they could go down and, do the research. So main types of RVs, I know they're A, B, C, and Super Cs. These are all motorized. So I'm going to kind of do the thing that I know better, and that's what's called motorized. Correct me if I'm wrong. I had a Class A. It was a 40-foot, and it was a diesel pusher. Some are gas. This was a diesel pusher. I loved the motorized, and I did tow a car, but I loved the motorized. It was just Dan and I. I liked the idea of having a bedroom that was set. I liked that my front seats were part of the living space, and we had opposable couches that we took out and made an office space out of that. So for me, the Class A worked really well. Um, but now let you take the others. You mentioned travel trailer and fifth wheels. I'm
Mhm.
going to test you here. What are some
Okay.
of the other types?
Yeah, you hit it. You hit all the motorized segments. So B, Super B, the smaller drivables that you kind of like sprinter vans and go up to Class C's, which is like you're more like your Econoline, 350 thing with a little thing over the cab, and then to your Class A and pusher being the diesel engines in the back of the coach versus the front, and Super C being a big coach with the engine in the front, Freightliner, those kind of things. So on the towable side, you really have the fifth wheel, which is the being the fifth wheel is it hooks up over the bed of the truck, and then your travel trailers, towable bumper pulls, just what you would expect, holds on there. Then you kind of get into the more overland, which are mostly bumper pulls, like teardrop, very small things for a regular thing, and then your truck campers, right? Because the ones that just kind of go on the back, and people wanted a lot of people that go up to Alaska use those. So, yeah, Alliance started in the towable markets, towable configuration currently, and then you have what we call park models or destination trailers as well, and those are towable, but you don't want to tow them a lot. You just want to kind of tow them there and place them. And we actually just started making a destination trailer. Um, and the difference between a park model and destination is one has holding tanks, one doesn't. So,
Okay, good to know. I
so
didn't know that.
yeah, and the wiring and some things. It's more a park model is more residential, like a mobile home sort of
Mhm.
feel where you won't have a tank just hooked up to the sewer system. And destination trailer is designed to kind of be off, by itself with the systems like an RV. So.
Right. And I had to go in and actually look because I didn't know about some of the different types. I feel like I'm pretty well versed. I've been to many RV shows and checked out
Hmm.
many, but you've covered a lot of them. And again, we maybe will bring up some of the others, and people certainly could go look and do the research. I would get the question all the time. People would come up to me. So I would go to events and speak, and people would come up to me and say, "What is the right RV for me?" Do you get that question, and how do
I,
you answer? And we're both kind of laughing.
I do get that question, but typically it's sometimes it's in the display area of Alliance, so they're really looking at like what model maybe is best for them. But what I tell people, because when I do consulting with people, it's really starting at the beginning and saying, "Hey, what's your plans for this? How do you want to travel? How often? Where are you going to go? All that stuff matters, and that is really the thing you want to decide first before anything is how are you going to use it. And once you decide that, and you have some overlap, of course, but if your goal is to go into national parks, into the actual parks, you don't want a 40-foot RV. If your plan is to go and sit somewhere for 3 months at a time, then maybe you want a towable, that has more space and feels more like a home inside. If you spend just very little time in the RV, maybe you're always out hiking and doing stuff. Maybe you want a different type. So even the systems, it really depends on how you're going to use it. So that's what I start with.
Right. And the only thing I'll add is how many people are going to be in that
Yes.
RV. So
Yeah.
that's a big one. And then
Kids, parent, yeah,
right, exactly.
couples.
And I hope that'll help people kind of start narrowing down. People could check out. We were both just at the Tampa RV show. The
Mhm.
Hershey RV show is coming up in September. I think that's
Yep.
a great place for people to check out different types of RVs, walk in, touch them, feel them, ask questions. People on
Mhm.
site are usually very knowledgeable or are very knowledgeable. So that's a great place. I want to and so I just wanted to give a little bit of an overview. As I said, we could spend an entire episode on just those things.
Choosing
But
your
let's,
RV, yeah.
yes, yes. But let's talk about, and I have a team of people. on the podcast. And so this one of my team members said, and I'm using what he said as a quote, how could you tell if something's a total piece of junk or a jewel? In other words, what makes an RV really good or high quality? Can you give my listeners tips on what to look for?
Yeah, I would say it's something, like when you see it, you know it a little bit, but I think a lot of people are distracted by the flash of things, and especially an RV show, and don't sometimes focus in on the the foundational things. It's like when you buy a house, right? You're all like, "Oh, it's staged and it looks beautiful, and look at the amenities," but then you're like, "Is the foundation done well? Is the roof trusses or cracks? Is it, that's the kind of thing I would say start with is construction. But what do you look for? Similar things you would look for in a home, right? Fit and finish. Is there trim falling down? Is it, is the caulking, all those kind of things, just the general how it feels, and looking at it. Can you and the price they're asking for, does that seem reasonable for what it is, right? So the value proposition is huge. So I would say first and foremost, fit and finish is your first indicator when you're walking through that. If you're pulling out drawers and things like that, but what I will add though is it depends on price point matters a lot, because if you're getting a starter RV that's what I call a stick and tin in the industry, which is aluminum siding, a very kind of quickly built for all intents and purposes, very lightweight. The amount of hours and care that goes into building that versus a Newmar, say, diesel pusher, way different, right?
Right.
So you're going to have, as the price point goes up, the fit and finish quality should go up with that. Now, what I will say, that's not always the case with companies like, with Alliance. Our fit and finish is the same across all of our product line, regardless of the price point. However, you can build, a 16-foot trailer a lot quicker than you can a 42-foot. So time spent doing it, and the more complicated it is, sometimes the
Right.
the harder it is to build too. So.
And what I'm hearing you say is it really depends. You can't compare a Class A, and you brought up Newmar, which is a company that I have seriously considered. That's where we were
Mhm.
that was what was going to be our next RV before my husband got ill and we got off the road.
Mhm.
And then foundation is really important. We talk to companies like Freightliner and have had them on this show because the
Yeah.
foundation, especially in Class A, is so important. So what I'm
Yeah.
hearing you say for the listeners, comparing within your model type group.
Yeah.
And certainly there are a lot of manufacturers out there to choose from. So, and again, you're an Alliance guy. We're going to talk about the Alliance story, but how do people look at, which manufacturer is better?
Mhm.
I'm putting you on the spot here.
Yeah. No,
What do
I
people
got
look
you.
for?
I would say, the manufacturers, I would say everybody does it pretty well, right? I mean, there are differences, but I will never say that another manufacturer's RV is junk. I won't, because it's not. I mean, every company out there is trying to build the best quality product they can with the resources they have and the manpower that they have experience. When you're looking at comparing companies, I would say go look at the users, right? What do the users of those products say? Because sometimes when you build something, you don't know how it's going to perform until you start using it, right? So you can come out with a great model that has all these glitzy stuff and it looks great, but then you can say, well, there's a design flaw, not intentionally, but with a sidewall or a frame or something that was really unknown until people started using it on the road
Right.
and beating it up. But looking at construction quality, I'd say that's what things are they using? Are they using aluminum steel framing? Are they using Asdel panels instead of wood inside, like Luan? So as we progress and become more savvy with materials and things like that, fiberglass, gel coat siding, quality sealants, all those kind of things versus things that are, where you may see water damage, potential delamination on the side of coaches, things like that. The chassis, when you look under there, does it look well done? Is the underbelly sealed up? Some are open intentionally, right? But some of those ones that are, when you get on the roof, is that the seals look good, all those kind of things. And you can always, when you're going to go buy something, you can always, encourage people, if they feel better, to get an RV technician or inspector to look at it for them, just like you would a house.
Mhm.
It's a large investment, the amount of times I've heard I spent $100,000 on this, fill in the blank. You hear that, and you have to listen and say, yeah, I hear you. I hear what you're saying, and we're going to do our best to take care of that. So construction quality, big part of it.
Right. Absolutely. And to your point, an inspection. Let's talk about a little bit about the idea of people going to a dealership.
Mm-hmm.
How do you choose a dealer?
A lot of people don't understand, when it comes to a manufacturer, dealers are our customers. Dealer groups are the ones we sell RVs to. Then they sell them to the customer. Now, then after they do it, we kind of own the warranty process, and it's a partnership between the dealership and that. So I would say sometimes the dealership chooses you because that's where they sell it in your region. So I would encourage people, like, say, for instance, Blue Compass has stores, over 100 stores throughout the country. You're apt to find what you want at a group that large. But like when I first started our search, I was in St. Louis, Missouri at the time. So what was available to see that interested me wasn't available. So I had to go to the Tampa RV show so I could actually get my hands on and walk through the different models. And that's, I'd say, one of the best places to go to one of the premier shows like Hershey or Tampa, to see and some of the brands have a particular store that's all their brand as well. So for me, that's one of the first things. And when it comes to picking a dealership, I would say, first and foremost, your concern is pricing, right? Do they have great pricing? Do they have competitive pricing? Second, what are the people that have bought there before? What do they say? Is there a good relationship with their OEMs? Do they have that good relationship? Do they have a strong service department? As an OEM, we're always going to ask first, did the dealer have the opportunity to help you? First. And some people are like, oh, I don't want to do the dealer's like, well, give them the opportunity, because likely they're going to be able to, service your needs quicker than we can. And then, inventory, are they constantly buying fresh inventory and getting those out there? Because a lot of times they'll be like, well, this is what we got, and if they're not encouraging you to look in their system to bring coaches to you that you want, then that's probably a sign you want to probably move on to a different one. So what I found with Blue Compass is they've been very accommodating. In my experience with them at Tampa, they're looking at coaches when people are interested in a specific model. If they don't have it at that store, they'll pull it from other stores for you. So, and then post-sale support, are they there to answer the call after you buy?
I've had a lot of experience with a lot of dealers, being in dealerships, I should say, being in, podcasts and talking to people, being at, I don't know how many Tampa events and how many Hershey events and other smaller events. So I love everything you're saying. I want to reiterate locations. Where are they? How many do they have? How big are they? Sometimes bigger and more, you get more options of the types of coaches that they have available, their service center and their technician. From what you said, again, something I want to reiterate, when that person picks up that RV from the dealership and there is a problem, they're not bringing it back to the manufacturer. They want to make sure the dealership's going to take care of it, that they're going to have the service and the ability to take care of it. So a lot there. For me, it's also walking in. And how do I feel when I walk in? That person that approaches me, am I just a number? Am I a sale? Their next sale? How do you feel? And I'll be honest, I won't mention, I never mention anything bad, but I've walked into service centers where they were just looking to sell and they weren't even listening to what I was saying. I've
Right.
walked into dealerships, and I mean dealerships, not service centers. I've walked into dealerships where, they act like they have all the time in the world. Let's just talk about it. Let me know what it is that you want. What are you looking for? How could I help you? And how can, if we don't have it in our location, how can we get it from another location? So there is a feel to it when people are
Mhm.
walking into the dealership. So all good points. As you were talking about Blue Compass, they are a sponsor of the show. And Blue Compass RV is great because they do have over 100 locations coast to coast, more than 15,000 new and used RVs. So people have lots to choose from. They will bring an RV to different locations. They have 1,000 service bays with more certified RV technician than any other dealer. As you talked about, service is going to be important. If they don't have enough service bays and technicians, you're going to be sitting and waiting if you have an issue with your RV. So Blue Compass RV is one of the reasons the RV Life podcast recommends them, is for these reasons. And you can visit your local Blue Compass RV dealer or go to bluecompassrv.com or to a Tampa Hershey show and check out, their inventory. Okay, let's talk about the Alliance. The Alliance started in 2019. When you told the story, and I had heard the story before, there were such a huge variety of brands and models out there. So why in 2019 did they decide to start yet another one? So can you
Yeah.
give us the story there?
Yeah. So the co-founders, Ryan and Coley Brady, brothers, we kind of grew up in the industry. Their father, Brian Brady, actually started Heartland, and and they both worked there at different points in their careers. Um, but I think at some point, when you have people that have drive and want to kind of do their own thing, put their own mark on an industry that they're very familiar with. There was a point in 2019 that said, "Hey, you know what? I think we want to go do something on our own." And so they gathered started gathering their team and the people that they wanted to work with, and really started kind of crowdsourcing the ideas, for a better term, on Facebook. Brought over Bill Martin from what he was doing. He worked at Grand Design, Jayco, stuff like that, and kind of built this. Hey, what does the customer want? Right. So they would throw out some floor plans on the Facebook group as it grew, and just kind of build that brand, um, feeling and investment early on from the owners, and people started reacting positively to that. And then when they finally launched, people felt like, hey, that was my idea, and that was something they listened. They listened. They're listening. Oh my gosh, they're listening. So they start out slow with just the paradigm, first off, which is your your standard, not your standard, but your full profile fifth wheel. And then they moved on to the toy hauler next with the Valor, and then just start kind of building the product lines responsibly, I would say, because we got the timing, who knew, right? 2020, just in production, and growing this company, and then COVID hits, right? And I would say for the industry, COVID was kind of a boom. I mean, I think you could probably take the years of 2021 through 22 and almost set them aside with an asterisk on the performance for those years, because really what we expect these days, probably in 2024, is more like in line with the growth that should have, if it just continued 2019 with nothing happening, right? So comparing those years to now, it always feels like a down season. But I would say for Alliance, it's probably a good thing, because there's so much demand, right? You're doing your best to meet expectations and meet the orders, as best as you can. Things, it's quick, and then there's shortages of parts and things like that, and you have to abide by your standards of do the right thing. So anything that was kind of left from those years that didn't maybe hit the mark we wanted, we still took care of them, right, to this day. And we're kind of through all that those years, but Alliance has grown. It's over probably $400 million company now, 4 plants. They have a full profile, fifth wheel, the toy hauler, a mid profile, the Avenue, a travel trailer, the Delta, and Benchmark, the destination trailer, and all the versions of those, lighter versions and that kind of thing. But right now, everything's going well there. What I think I like the most about Alliance is the people and the culture. When I look at the offices that Coley and Ryan are in, they're the same offices when they started. And I tease them a lot because it's like they still haven't hung up things on the wall. And those offices still kind of looks like when they moved in 2020.
Wow.
I'm like, are you ever going to hang that? I was like, that just shows you kind of how busy they are. And really their attention is where it should be. It's on the customer, the product, and doing that, not so much of decorating their offices or making things fancy. I teased the Coley had these inserts that said Alliance that we put in above the slide there for a few years, and those inserts were on his floor for probably almost 2 years. And I said, hey, I'm going to get rid of those for you. I'm going to give them away at the rally this year. And he's like, oh, okay. It's like he's so zoned in on just the business, right? But that's the guys, and they've been very open to ideas. And I would say when I bought our coach in 2020, we bought the company culture and what they were selling, the do the right thing, as much as the coach, because I knew the coaches are very similar, and they really are relentless in striving to build and keep building the quality. And yeah, it's a great company, but there's a lot of great companies out there. Everyone's got great culture and great followers. And at the end of the day, it's all about RVing. It doesn't really matter what you're in. It just get out there.
And that is as I say in the beginning, my mission, get out there, whether it's full-time RVing or just going camping in a tent, just get out there. And I love what you said. So whether people are looking at the manufacturer, the dealership, a service center, any of that, make sure that culture, make sure that person, has the same values, the same belief system. I love do the right thing, and having a company that has that culture is, I think that means more than anything. Anything you said, that means more than any of it. And the fact that is why you were with them, because you love the company culture. Yeah. We could look at any brand in any industry and say, okay, there's some good ones, there are some bad ones. And within every industry, there are, things that I've had cars that were the best selling car of the year. I had a Ford, I forget the model, but it was the best selling of the year. It was my biggest nightmare car. I got the one that who knows what happened.
Yeah.
Everything was wrong. So
yeah,
that's really good advice for people. And I think it's advice across the board, whatever you're going to buy, whatever you're going to do, working with people, that is great to make sure that you align with the company culture, the people you're dealing with. Let's talk a little bit about tech school. You're a master technician. And that came from your military experience, right? You decided to become a master technician.
Yeah. So in the military, I started off as an aircraft mechanic. I got my FAA, aircraft and power plant license, and I was a flight engineer, which is kind of like that guy in the company that runs all the systems. And so mechanically inclined. And then when I was like came over to RV. I'm like, hey, they got these 12-volt systems and stuff like that. So I want to feel better about it. So I went down to a school called RVSA, RV Service Academy down in Florida. It was a 10-week course, and then I work a lot with the National RV Training Academy and the RV Technical Institute at the company. So at the end of the day, it's all about, we need more technicians out there, and so we can service the inventory that's out on the road better, from the dealership to a mobile tech or whatever it is. And as I got out and did that, and then did my mobile business for a while, then I was like, hey, I've done one career already. It's like, yeah, I'd like to focus in on just, kind of like the segments here with this one manufacturer for a while, and then start talking about, the education part of it. So then we started designing, what can we do for the customers? And we're not the only manufacturer that has done this in the past, but the way we approached it, I approached the National RV Training Academy, and primarily because they had the capacity to do what I was doing versus, say, the RV Technical Institute or others like that, because just resources wise. And they've been great partners. We developed a lot of owner education, 5 hours of owner education videos that they get free, when they log in with their VIN number and stuff like that when they register. And then just from there, doing owner empowerment rallies where we focus in down there, and they go through a week of fundamentals, to just ongoing seminars and things like that, because I truly believe that the more people know about the coach and how to operate it, the less stressful they are. When they're not worried about, and they see something go wrong, they can go, oh, I know what's happening, or at least I know where to look. And I could talk to the technician or Alliance, and I could say, hey, yeah, this is probably happening. And why don't I get my my multimeter, my voltmeter out?
I know what that is, actually. I actually know what it is.
It's kind of a brilliant joke. One of our guys that's been there along with me since the beginning, Jim Bonacci, we always say, like, if you don't have a multimeter, when you talk to Jim, then you need to hang up and go to Harbor Freight or somewhere to get one, because he's going to ask you, because we can't help you as much unless you can tell us, we're happy to do that. Because, and I was just working with Lippert. We had to do the RV Owners School that Lippert does the week prior to this rally that we're having next week. Lippert puts on an RV Owner School just for Alliance owners that kind of exclusive to them and that they sign up for. And they're really great partners too. So there's a lot of great partners, suppliers in this industry. Everybody's trying to do, obviously, make good business decisions and things like that, and really support the customer out there, but still put out a good product.
Right.
So.
And a number of things that you said. First of all, you gave a lot of letters for companies and training. You're going to send those to me. I'm going to put them all in the show notes. I know a lot of my listeners listen while they're, driving in a car, exercising, whatever they're doing. Right. So I want to make sure they have that information. You also said that there's still a big need for technicians, so schools that people can get trained to become technicians. And you also said, which I highly agree, people that are in an RV part-time, sometime full-time, really need to have some basic knowledge and tools like a multimeter, which I just got rid of the one I had. So it is good to know. And it does make a difference when you have a place to call. So being able to call and say, hey, this is the problem, and somebody kind of talking you through that, being able to fix certain things. That I believe that makes RVing way easier, because anybody who's ever RV'd for longer than a week knows that stuff's going to go wrong, stuff's going to happen. And when I got really frustrated because the hot water wasn't working and I forgot to push the button, that's all it took, a button. So knowledge is definitely power, and the more people know, the better. So tell me, what is there, before we go on, and we still have some stuff to cover, is there anything else you feel is important for my listeners to know along these topics?
I would say, research is key. I would start with hey, what am I going to do with it? Know that, and or at least primarily, what am I going to do with it? Because I will find people like, oh, we want to buy this RV, and and I need a bunkhouse. It's like, well, didn't you say it was just the two of you? It's like, well, maybe with the grandkids. I was like, okay, look, buy it for the 95, 98% of use case. And that's the thing I said, what is your use case scenario, right? Because otherwise that's just going to be the guest room that nobody ever sleeps in sometimes, right? So first start there. Second is, you know, what is, your expectations for doing this? Know that it's going to come with issues and stuff, but roll with the punches, right? It's about the journey, right? The RV is the vehicle that gets you there, right? Your background is the beach, right? So the point
Yes.
is to go to the beach, not sit in the RV by the beach, right? You
Right.
obviously want a nice vehicle, you want a place to sleep, all these things, but that's what it's there for, right? As a home base to get you out there. So, have realistic expectations, right? It is a house moving down the highway. So things are going to shake loose, just like a car, it's also not built well, some motorized are built like a car because they are,
Mhm.
right? But there's not a lot of RVs are not built to the same specifications as a car. They don't spend a manufacturer won't spend 5 years in research and development before they release a model, right? They'll draw it up. They might hear it's like, oh, the thing here right now is front bath with an office or whatever. So they will draw up a design and they'll just prototype and they'll build it. It was like, and they'll kind of test the waters. It's like, hey, is that going to work? Is that going to sell? Because that's really what it's about. And then, like I said, you get it out on the road, and you're like, oh, we didn't realize that might happen. So we need to take care of that. So the manufacturers that are a little more conscious of that have better engineers that are really, tied into what can happen. I say is a good thing. And then just, don't go out, try to live within the budget of what, people go to a show and they're like, oh, I want this class A. And it's like, that's $500,000, by the way, just so you know,
Right. Uh-huh.
you know,
The one
you
I
know,
want. Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, just expectations,
Right.
there's
Right.
nothing wrong with a used RV.
Right.
Absolutely nothing wrong. And sometimes can be more suitable for your needs based on your use case.
Mhm.
Right. So, and it's kind of, we call it gone through its shakedown tour, right, of a couple of years. So it may be out of warranty, but maybe most of the things have already been discovered. Right. So, um, know yourself before you try to know what kind of RV you want. That's a good part.
And that's a great point. And it really is when people would ask me what's the best RV, not the brand, but what type. Like, should I get a class A? Should I get a travel trailer? There,
Depends.
it's like it depends is exactly what I say. And it's like saying to me, what's the best house for me? I don't know. We'd have to sit down and talk about how many people live in the house, how much upkeep you want, how
Exactly.
big you're,
Yep.
and it's the same concept with an RV. What
Yep.
I liked and what you like, two totally different things. I do like the fifth wheel because, and I've never lived in one. I've been in one, but I've been in many. But I like the idea of it feeling more like a home. There's more areas. The kitchen is more functional than in a lot of cases.
Yep.
But for me, the Class A worked. And if I were going to buy an RV again, I'd still go back to that. So it's really knowing, like you said, very good point, very important. Know who you are, know what you want, know what your budget is, go to the shows, check them out.
I will add too is like if you're not sure and you go to the shows, rent them.
Yes.
Go. I mean, RV Share, Outdoorsy. I mean, lots of companies out there, and it may seem expensive initially to pay $200-300 a night or whatever, but that's just 1 month's payment, right? So, and if you can dial that in, you go, you know what, we really enjoyed for this renting that, you
Right.
know, and it's kind of like the jet ski. Everybody wants to own a jet ski, but then they sit on the trailer and they never use them.
Right, right. Well, I totally agree with you with the RVs rental. I am connected with Gar Russell from Fireside RV Rentals,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
they have
Bart. Yep,
places all over the country. You
yep.
are spending a lot of money to go out there, but how nice is it to try it out? And even if
Hmm.
you try a couple different models, yes, it gets expensive, but it's better than buying an RV if you buy it new, 20,000 to over 1 million if you're buying a Class A Newmar, which
Hmm.
I love. You're
Oh,
spending a
there's no
lot of
doubt.
money. Yeah, so it's
Yeah.
well worth it. Well, okay, I have another question for you. This was great information. I want to encourage my listeners to reach out with questions. Where can they reach out to you if they have questions?
Yeah, I mean, you can email me at work at rob.boyer at alliancerv.com.
Okay. And we will put that in the show notes. We want people to reach out, comments, questions, thoughts, maybe
Sure.
a whole nother RV episode of, hey,
Mhm.
let's cover this more in depth. I am always looking to hear what my listeners are needing and wanting. I know we touched on things here, probably more information that we can get out. People can reach out to me on Instagram or Facebook, RV Life Podcast, put it in a private message. We'll be posting this episode. They
Mhm.
could put it in the episode. Really want to encourage people to let us know what else they are looking to know on this topic or any topic for that matter. But it's now time for the question of the week, and I'm going to ask you the question and then give you a minute to think about it because I think you're going to need a minute to think about it.
Okay. No,
And
okay, sure.
this, this is brought to you by Cool RV. And the question for you is, what is on your bucket list? And by that I mean a person you want to meet with, a place you want to go, an experience you want to have. And while you're thinking about that, I had to go back and remember being in my Class A in Las Vegas in the middle of the summer, and the temperatures got as high as 120 degrees. Seriously, I do not recommend Las Vegas in the middle of the summer for any extended period of time. It does get hot. I wish I had known about Cool RV because it is a game changer for RV air conditioners. It will give you cooler air, more airflow, and make your air conditioner quieter. All the things we need, right? In the summer, you'll stay comfortable and not have the noise. How good is that? Upgrade your AC with Cool RV by visiting coolrv.com today. And that's KOOLRV. And that will be in the show notes. So, Rob, time is up. What is your answer?
Well, so I thought about so I traveled a lot in the Air Force, so I've been kind of all over the world, and fortunate enough to have the opportunity to do some traveling. And yeah, I want to do. There's things I want to do. I've jumped out of airplanes. I want to go on a cruise and all that kind of stuff. But as I get older, I think more about my family, and I think one of a bucket list thing for me would be to my kids and my grandkids are in Maine. I have family in Montana. I got family in Arizona, all over the country. My bucket list would be to bring everybody together for like a camping, like, week somewhere where we could all spend time together and reconnect from all the reaches that we're currently living, and do that through this thing we love, RVing. So
That's great. And everybody always has such different answers. And I love that. Being back in Pennsylvania, my grandkids are nearby. And you always want that, like, let's get people together and just not together, but yes, to be in a campground. I don't know if I can manage that with my kids and grandkids, but I'm going to put that on my bucket list. Like,
well, rent RVs that have bunkhouses. We can just put them in.
yes, some of them are a little more high maintenance, so they might need
Yeah.
the cabin with a
No phones.
bed. What's that?
No phones.
And no phones. Yes, I love that idea.
Campfires. Yeah.
So I'm going to work on that one. That is a great idea. I love that. Families getting together and, being out there camping sounds amazing. Okay, It's now time for the feature campground of the week, and it's brought to you by RV Life Pro Suite of Products. This week's campground is Lake George Escape Campground in Lake George, New York. It is a Thousand Trails campground. You do not need to be a member. Lake George Escape Campground has 574 sites. New York sounds like a great place to be in the spring and the fall. It's beautiful in this area. You could immerse yourself in the nature and beauty of the surroundings. They have lots of amenities, lots of activities. This would be a great place to bring families together because there's something for everyone at this campground. And they have full hookups so everybody can, do their thing, shower, have my cappuccino, all of that. They do have a dog park and they have cottages and cabin rentals. So, you could put people in there, rent some RVs, do the whole thing. They have a 7.7 rating on the RV Life campground site and 129 reviews, which means that our fellow RVers went into these campgrounds, wrote a review, and showed there's pictures, there's, all the amenities. If you go to if you go to campgrounds.rvlife.com, you could see all of the pictures of this place. You could see all of the amenities, everything about this property by going there. The best thing is if you go to campgrounds.rvlife.com and type in Lake George Escape Campground and you decide you want to book, there is a big red book now button. So you could do all of that from the site. It's great. RV Life Campgrounds is part, like I said, of the Pro Suite of Products. It's the most comprehensive source of RV parks, campgrounds, resorts, city, state, and national parks, and so much more. Just visit our campgrounds.rvlife.com. If you are not already an RV Life member, there's a 25% discount in the show notes for you to give it a try for 7 days, see if it works for you. So, Rob, we accomplished a lot, and I want to thank you so much for sharing all the information that you shared for my listeners.
Yeah, it's my pleasure.
Great. And as I said, people can reach out. I will put Rob's email in the show notes. He is asking you, email him questions, comments, concerns. You can reach out to me on social media, RV Life Podcast, Instagram or Facebook. We truly want to hear from you. And I want to thank you, my listeners, and remind you life's a journey. Live each day to the fullest without regrets. I'm Patti Hunt, and you have been listening to the RV Life Podcast.